One of the golden rules in real estate, and one of the biggest things to watch out for, how to lose money, and it's infinite suburbs you've got to watch out for. Stay tuned. We'll tell you more.
Morning.
Good morning, Billy.
Infinite suburbs. How some people lose money when surely everyone makes money in real estate, Mark.
Surely, but not always. And not only that, the rate of growth can be different as well, where one person over 10 years can make 500,000 for an investment. Another person can make 100,000 for the same amount of investment because they made the golden mistake of not considering an infinite suburb.
Yeah, we're talking a little bit about infill, which is the idea behind governments, councils squeezing in more and more apartments into the existing space, or as you said, infinite suburbs where they take sort of an undeveloped place and just start knocking them up.
Smash it. They smash it. How do you pick them?
Looking at suburbs that don't actually have the room to be driven up, but also picking a good council. And we spoke about it briefly this morning. A good council and a good government actually regulates it. So more on a state level than a federal level, but you can actually see there might be pretty big differences between the way New South Wales runs the state versus the likes of Melbourne, Queensland.
Absolutely. And look, guys, basically when you're picking these suburbs, you may think you're going to buy a 2-bedroom unit in DY. And your first cousin who lives out west is going to buy a 2-bedroom unit in Parramatta. You're a little bit jealous because they're getting a brand new unit for the same price of what you're spending. But if you pick a suburb, and this is not having a go at Parramatta or having a go at suburbs, but it's just the basic principle of stock. If you have a piece of jewelry, if you have a piece of art, if you have a car, whatever it may be, if it's one of none, if it's one of a few, it's generally worth a little bit more or a lot more. If it's one of many, then basically it's infinite. Do you know what I mean? If they can be produced easily, if they can be produced cheaper and cheaper as the years roll on, you're in trouble. So that's almost a disposable item. So property can work like that as well. And you've got to choose in suburbs, precincts, areas and cities where there's not going to be a shitload of stock hitting that area, because that's going to hit you in the pocket. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples shortly.
I've got a really good one-liner for you, Mark.
Yep.
It is: supply is the enemy of capital growth. So we're all in it to take advantage of the capital growth. It's not going to come.
You pull that one out.
I know. I can't say I'm myself.
Supply is the enemy of capital growth. Could not have said it better. Now, can I use to apply that saying? There's David Gutso as well. He understands supply. The Parramatta, right? Let's talk about Parramatta. Not having a go at Parramatta. Beautiful place to live. Lovely people. All good. But there has been a lot of supply. Now, to apply what you're saying to Parramatta, and Billy, you're not going to believe this. Actually, I'm going to give you DY. DY's got low supply. Or if I'm happy to give it, if anyone else out there wants to throw a suburb at me, let me know. But I'm going to give you DY. Supply is the enemy of capital growth. Are you ready for this? DY capital growth. Units, 10 years. Give me how much you reckon?
capital growth.
Capital
over 10
growth
years.
over 10 years.
I don't know. Throw the number out there.
126%. 126%. So, if you gave me $1 million 10 years ago, and I put it into a unit for you 10 years ago, that unit I would give you your $1 million. If upon selling now, I'd give you your $1 million back. Plus, I would give you back on top of that $1 million, 1,260,000. Now, so what was your famous quote? Supply is the enemy of
Capital growth.
All right. So let's move over to Parramatta as an example. A lot of supplies hit the market in Parramatta. A shitload of supply of units has hit the market in Parramatta. Okay. Hence, this is my 10-year example. If I have a guess what percentage capital growth Parramatta's had. Parramatta's got a train station. It's a CBD, plenty of shops, wonderful place to live, lovely restaurants. Parramatta, even on the water.
80%.
62.
Wow.
Okay, so Billy, you've bought a unit you've given me $1 million 10 years ago in Parramatta. Yeah, I bought you a unit. I give you your $1 million back, and then I will give you back 620,000 on top.
Yeah, we're talking double, depending on which suburb.
We're talking double tax-free money if you're living in it. So, guys and girls, our lesson today, and Billy, you've crystallised about Infinite Suburb. You've crystallised it in one perfect quote.
Yeah.
And the quote again. It's a good quote.
Is the enemy of capital growth. So choose wisely.
And a working example of that is DY. No, generally compared, the last 10 years has been F-all supply. If you look at how many units have dropped into the grid, whereas if you look at how many units have dropped into the grid with Parramatta, a bucket load of units, I can actually give you the number. So basically, you've doubled your money. So over 10 years, how hard would you have to work to save after-tax money $600,000, which is 60 grand a year? But here, 10 years ago, Billy, it was simply a decision for you. Do I buy Parramatta or do I buy DY? So, Billy, you've got to choose. Don't choose an infinite suburb with infinite stock when you buy a property, ladies and gentlemen. There's a couple of comments here as well. Let's talk about Dave Guzzo. He's got a mow. Ciao Bello. That's like, I've got to go. I've got to mow because he's a lawnmower. Anmal, you know about Infinite Suburbs. You're a professional real estate agent and legend. Anything else you want to add?
Well, it's when you say how much harder would I have to work, it's hard to put dollar tone on that. But you'd have to work double as hard to get double the amount of properties. You'd have to have two, to make up the loss.
Hard.
Yeah.
And why, when it's just a simple decision to understand what an infinite suburb is, and look, it's good that these suburbs have had growth. It's good that their infrastructure's been probably massively developed. They're all the infrastructure, roads, transport, shopping, restaurants, all that's been developed in that area. It's a beautiful suburb to live, but it's pretty hard to compete when you got so much stock dropping into that area in a year after year after year, and that's holding the prices back. Some governments and councils call that affordability.
Yeah, nice play on words.
Well, it's affordable for someone buying in, but for the people that own in to that market, the growth of their property is not going up as much as they would have liked to hope. So you just got to be real careful, guys. on these suburbs. And Queensland's a good example. If you look at Queensland, I know Luke's a big fan of Queensland, but I don't think he's a fan of what I'm just about to talk about. Those high towers in Queensland, there's thousands of those towers that are in there. The council doesn't care. Just build, 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 and that adds a problem to supply.
Supply is the enemy of capital growth. That's it.
That's it. Supply is the enemy of capital growth. Supply is the enemy of capital growth. There's two examples there. If you want to call us to talk about a suburb you're considering buying, we're happy to supply the data on that. Call us, message us, whatever you want. But just remember that basic principle. Share this with a friend if this can help a friend that you know that's buying at the moment. You may have even had this banter with a buddy and not been able to put that into words with data, with words, whatever. And I think we've just crystallised it beautifully today.
I spoke about it with Dad. And he said, why not buy just next to where they're putting in the new airport? So we did.
Badgerys Creek?
Yeah, we did the numbers. And he said, you can get a 1-bedroom apartment in DY or, the 4-bedroom house. I said, well, let's have a look. I mean, it wasn't the only reason, but, it plays a big part. And
why didn't you do it?
The numbers sort of spoke for themselves in a little way, but being able to sort of drive by it, see it every now and then, just say hi, keep an eye on things. I like that idea as well.
It's nice as well. And don't forget, when we're talking about infinite suburbs, we're not just talking about unit towers like Parramatta. We can talk about land releases that are way, 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 way out west where they've just got shitloads of land left over. We've got a comment here with Anmal. Anmal, do you want to read that out, Billy?
Yeah, do your demographics of the suburb, income, age, migration status. There's lots of little factors like that contribute to these supply and demand.
And what's the next one?
A lot of newly migrated families are choosing to live in and around Parramatta, halfway point to the city, cheap rent, great stepping stone, next step in their lives.
That's actually interesting. So what Anmal's saying is, which is really valid, is it's a stepping stone, and it's affordability and it's convenient. So I guess today we've more spoken about how to make it the money out of the property and choosing a suburb that's going to have growth, but it doesn't always matter. Sometimes it's just working for families, and they may be in that property ownership only for 3 or 4 years, of which they then move to a suburb that doesn't have high supply, and so it can, it's just purely convenient. But I still love capital growth.
Who doesn't? Free money.
Well, you know what? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know because that 10-year example, Uncle Billy bought in Parramatta and Uncle Sam bought in DY. 10 years later, are they really going to pull out the ruler and measure who did better with each property? Do you know what I mean? Like, you sort of just do what you do. But there's some hardcore evidence on some hardcore suburbs and pipping them up against each other.
That's right. We also talked about what are your thoughts on the Aussie property market tipping over $9 trillion in worth? In 5 months, it went from 8 trillion to 9 trillion. Here we are. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Look, I just think if you were anywhere in the world, and I've spoken about this example before. I was in Alaska, and I was in a bus, and there's 40 of us sitting there, and this guy goes, "How's the property market doing over here?" And the girl goes, "Oh my God, the property here has been amazing. I bought my townhouse for $87,000. I've been there for 4 years. Do you know what it's worth now?" And everyone goes, "No." And she goes, 95,000. And then Lisa and I looked at each other and went, oh my God, she's made 7,000 in 4 years and thinks that's good. My point is, back to what you're saying, I think it's phenomenal, and I think it's a gift, and I think we're one of very few countries that's enjoying that gift. We are a lucky country to be sitting on a $9 trillion stable property market with a good economy and good health system. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, and they did the numbers comparing it to what super and the stock market is worth combined. Still didn't get close.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It's exciting.
And that's a wrap.
That's it. Have a good day, guys.
Have a good day. Thanks for being with us today, Billy. You legend, guys. I hope we helped you and your brain. And if you can share this with any friends or family, we've greatly appreciated it. Thanks, guys. See ya.